The first two settings that you might want to turn off in COD Mobile are some of the newest experimental features in the game. It's damage and hit vibration. Damage vibration turned on vibrates your device when taking damage, and hit vibration turned on vibrates when hitting others. Here's how it works. And since you'll dish and take a lot of damage, especially in respawns, that also means you'll get a lot of vibrations, which in turn can contribute to heat generation on your device, and in general just add unnecessary shaking on your device while you play. The constant vibrations can also be distracting and make it harder to focus on the game. For these reasons, it's best to turn off both damage vibration and hit vibration. This will help keep your device cool and ensure a smoother, more comfortable gaming experience. It might be fun to have it on when playing Horde Point though. For the next setting, we have bolt action weapon pre-input. This setting makes bolt action weapons shoot like automatic weapons. When you keep your finger on the fire button, the gun will wait for its fire interval to finish before firing again. This means it will keep shooting, but there will be a short pause between each shot. While this might seem helpful at first, it can actually make it harder to aim accurately. Bolt action weapons are designed for precision, meaning you need to take careful aim for each shot. This setting takes away some of that control and can throw off your timing, especially when you're trying to hit multiple targets or need to shoot quickly. To be better with bolt action weapons, turn this setting off. This lets you aim each shot carefully and hit your targets more often. Remember that this setting only changes how bolt action weapons work. It doesn't affect semi-automatic weapons like the XPR-50, SKS, and Type 63. Interestingly, it does work when turned on with the R90, but it's a very specific use case. The hitting optimization setting changes how your crosshair looks when you're hitting your targets. Turning it on means crosshair provides more intuitive feedback on the hipfire dispersion range, and the dynamics of the crosshair when firing and hitting are more intense. Basically, it makes your hit markers bigger and more noticeable. While this might look and sound helpful, it can actually make it harder to focus on enemies, especially those that are far away. The bigger hit markers and the extra movement in your crosshair can be distracting. Turning this setting off keeps your crosshair clean and simple. This makes it easier to focus on your targets and aim accurately, especially at longer ranges. Hitting sound enhancement when turned on makes the sounds of your hit markers and kill shots louder. While this might make the game feel more exciting, it can also make it harder to hear important sounds like enemy footsteps. Being able to hear footsteps is really important in COD Mobile. It helps you know where enemies are, even if you can't see them. If you have hitting sound enhancement turned on, the loud sounds of your hits might drown out the quieter sounds of footsteps. To make sure you can hear everything that's going on around you, it's best to turn this setting off. This will help you stay aware of your surroundings and avoid being surprised by enemies. The teammate HUD settings can help you see what's happening around you more clearly. These settings control how much information you see about your teammates on your screen. First, you have health bar mode. You can turn this setting off completely, or you can set it to residual on. Residual on shows you the health bars of teammates who are near you, but not those who are far away. This can help you track your nearby teammates without cluttering your screen. You also have ID display mode. This setting controls how your teammates' names are shown. If you're just playing ranked matches, you can set this to mark, but if you're playing competitively and need to know exactly who and where your teammates are, set it to ID. And then you have perspective teammate. This setting helps you see where your teammates are even if they're behind a wall. It does this by showing a blue silhouette of your teammates. This can be useful in some situations, but it can also be distracting. You can turn this off if you find there's too much information on your screen. By adjusting these settings, you can reduce the amount of information on your screen and focus more on what's happening in the game. This can help you spot enemies more easily and react quicker to danger. Next, let's talk about always sprint. This setting makes your character sprint every time you drag the joystick forward. It might seem helpful, but in the game today, moving quietly and smartly is important, so it's better to turn this setting off. If you only run everywhere, enemies can see and hear you easily, and it will be hard to move around them without being noticed. When you turn off your always sprint, you can choose when you want to walk and when you want to sprint. This is really important when you use dead silence, a perk that lets you move quietly. If you keep always sprint on, you'll make noise every time you sprint, and enemies will hear you even with dead silence. Turning off always sprint also gives you a joystick sensitivity setting for sprinting. This lets you change how sensitive your joystick is when you sprint. Try changing this setting until you can easily switch between walking and sprinting. I suggest setting it around 85 to 87. This makes it easy to walk quietly with dead silence and not be hurt. If you turn off always sprint and find the right sprint sensitivity, you can move better and stay hidden. This will help you play smarter, use dead silence well, and be better than other players. In COD Mobile, having a steady aim is super important for taking down enemies. You might not realize it, but there are a few settings that can make your gun and view shake when you shoot. This shaking can make it harder to hit your targets. Let's look at these settings and how you can adjust them to improve your accuracy. First, go to basic settings and find weapon performance while ADSing. This section controls how your weapon behaves when you're aiming down sights. You'll see 4 different options here. Gun kick scale. This is how much your gun shakes relative to your gun's bullet spread. View kick scale. This is how much your view shakes, also relative to your gun's bullet spread. Recoil rotate scale. This is how much your gun shakes relative to its recoil. And first person depth of field. This setting can make your view blurry when you shoot to enhance that effect. Next, let's look at the settings for hip firing, which is when you shoot without aiming down sights. You'll find some familiar options here, namely recoil rotate scale, view kick scale, and first person depth of field. To make your aim as steady as possible, you'll want to get rid of all that unnecessary shaking and blurring. Here's what you should do. Go through each of the settings mentioned above and set them all to 0. This will make your gun and view much steadier when you're shooting. Turn off first person depth of field for both ADSing and hip firing. This will remove the blur effect so you can see better when shooting. By adjusting these settings, you'll have a much steadier aim, which will help you hit more shots and improve your overall performance in COD Mobile. Up next, fast throw. This setting makes you throw grenades instantly when you tap the button. While this might be helpful for some lethal equipment and in respawn game modes, it can make it harder to use grenades effectively in other situations. If you like to cook your grenades before throwing them, this setting will prevent you from doing that. It also makes it harder to aim your grenades precisely, which can be important for hitting specific spots or catching enemies off guard. For better control over your grenades, it's best to turn this setting off. This will allow you to time your throws perfectly and make sure your grenades land exactly where you want them to. The R fire button for camera rotation setting lets you move your aim by holding down the ADS to fire button or the R fire button, but only if those buttons are on the right side of your screen. This might be good for players who use their thumbs to both aim and shoot. However, it can be a problem for those who use their thumb to aim and their index finger to fire. If you use your index finger to shoot, having this setting turned on can make your aim move accidentally. This can make it harder to hit your targets and stay accurate. To avoid any accidental aim movement, it's best to turn this setting off. This will keep your aim steady and make it easier to control your shots. You also have the ADS button for rotation setting, which lets you move your aim by holding down either the ADS button or the left fire button, but only if both buttons are on the right side of your screen. If you're a 4-finger player who uses the ADS button or left fire button with your right index finger, having this setting on can cause your aim to move unintentionally. This can throw off your shots and make it harder to hit your targets. Turning this setting off ensures that your aim stays fixed when you're pressing these buttons. This prevents any unexpected movements that could interfere with your shots and helps you maintain better control in those crucial moments. The explosion shake setting is tucked away in the audio and graphics menu under the effects tab. If you have this turned on, your screen will shake whenever a grenade explodes near you. While it might not make aiming impossible, it can definitely distract you and break your focus. It's best to turn this off to keep your view steady and stay on target. Anti-aliasing is a setting that makes the game's lines look smoother. When it's turned off, you might see jagged edges on objects and characters, and turning it on makes everything look cleaner and more polished. However, anti-aliasing can also make your phone work harder, which can slow down the game. If your phone is already struggling to run COD Mobile smoothly, you might want to turn this setting off to improve performance. If your phone is powerful and can handle the extra work, you can turn anti-aliasing on for better graphics. Super resolution is a setting that can make the game's graphics even look sharper and more detailed. However, it also makes your device work a lot harder, which can cause it to overheat. Overheating can make your phone or tablet uncomfortable to hold, and it can also damage the battery in the long run. For these reasons, it's best to avoid turning on super resolution, especially if you're playing for long periods. If I missed any settings you should turn off, let me know down in the comments below. And now that you've turned off some, if not all, unnecessary options, there are still some common gameplay habits that could be holding you back. Click the video on the left for the COD Mobile mistakes you need to stop making.